Welcome back to What Are We Talking About? I'm Ben Lewis. Every day we are bombarded with headlines, outrage, talking points designed to tell us what to think. But here we like to take a step back, ask questions, challenge the narrative, and examine the biggest stories in politics, culture, sports, and faith through a Christian conservative worldview. If you're tired of media spin and ready for honest conversation grounded in truth, common sense, and biblical principles, you're in the right place. This is What Are We Talking About? Let's get into it. If you've been paying attention to Missouri politics, you know that primary elections often determine who represents us long before November ever arrives. And in the race for Missouri's 138th House District, Republican voters have a choice to make. Today, we're sitting down with Tom Franiak, who is challenging incumbent State Rep Burt Whaley for the Republican nomination. Tom is a businessman, a husband, father, grandfather. He's a pro-life Christian committed to faith, family, and freedom. He also argues that his experience building and running a business gives him perspective that's missing in state government. We're going to talk about why he decided to run against an incumbent from his own party. Where does he believe the current representative has come up short? What would he do differently if voters send him to Jeff City? And what are the biggest issues facing the people of Christian and Stone counties right now? As always, this is about giving candidates the opportunity to explain their positions so you can make an informed decision when it's time to vote. So let's get into it. Tom Franiak, welcome to What Are We Talking About? How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Okay, so it's never easy to challenge someone from your own party who's already in office. What was the moment when you decided, I'm not just going to support someone else, I think I need to be the one running? And what do you think, what's your outlook on doing things differently?
Well, I don't know how many people know, but Burt Whaley and I, we challenged each other 2 years ago in the primary. We were both running for Brad Hudson's open seat, and I was unsuccessful in that race. And after a period of mourning, I really hoped that Burt would do a good job. But the defining moment really was when Burt had an opportunity after promoting himself as a pro-life candidate. He had an opportunity to vote yes on HJR 73, which was the fix to the Amendment 3 that went passed 2 years ago. And instead of voting on it, Burt chose to leave the chamber and be absent. People in the community were very upset over that, and I started to get the phone calls that they would like me to throw my hat in the ring again. So it took me several months. I said, this has got to be a citizen-driven, a community-driven campaign, or I'm not going to do it. And the people started coming out and supporting me, having buyer's remorse, and I decided, I guess maybe we should do this again, give the people an opportunity to make that choice again, because I do believe that in Jefferson City, you're sent there to make the tough votes, not to walk out. And proof is in Missouri Right to Life. In the district, I'm the only one that has been endorsed by Missouri Right to Life. And in the state, I'm the only candidate that has been endorsed over an incumbent. That's how upset the public was that their pro-life candidate doesn't seem to be so pro-life.
Yeah, so excellent point. So HJR 73, explain to us because Amendment 3, I've been very vocal about that I was very disappointed when that passed. So explain what HJR 73 would have fixed about Amendment 3.
So HJR 73 will fix and stop somewhere between 95 and 97% of all abortions in the state of Missouri. It does have some exceptions for certain fetal anomalies, rape and incest and things like that. But more importantly, and is what people forget about with Amendment 3, it's not just an abortion bill. In our current law, children under the age of 18 can be transgendered without parental consent. Girls under the age of 18 can be given an abortion without parental consent. Women who choose to have an abortion under current law, should something go wrong, they cannot hold the provider accountable. And so no recourse if they
Hmm.
develop sepsis and die. Um, you can't sue the provider. Not only that, um, when the old Amendment 3 came, or current Amendment 3 came in, it says that providers don't even have to be medical people. Your auto mechanic can perform the abortion if you choose to have them do it. And then you can't hold them accountable if things go wrong. So, new Amendment 3, what you'll vote on in November,
Uh-huh.
is children under the age of 18 cannot be transgendered without parental consent. Girls under the age of 18 cannot get an abortion without parental consent. Women that do, in the rare case that an abortion is allowed, go have that procedure done. They will be able to hold the provider, who will be a medical person, accountable if they have malpractice. So there's a lot of things it does fix. And I too, I think everybody is an abolitionist at heart. Um, but in government, we see that a lot of times we have to take baby steps. And when we went from a no abortion state to abortion on demand up to birth state, it's going to take a little bit of work to get us back to where we want to be.
Uh-huh.
So I personally think this is a great first step. And apparently my opponent doesn't think so.
Yeah, that's crazy. So walk me through that. So just for people that don't understand like what a setting looks like and, having the opportunity to voice opinion in Jeff City. So you're saying there was a situation where, just kind of walk me through that, where he could have spoken up, but he chose to leave the chamber. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So every morning they do roll call, and Burt was there to vote on the last day's minutes and other business that starts in the morning. And as that vote came through to pass HJR 73, uh, I don't know, Burt decided to take a long bathroom break or something
Mm-hmm.
and missed the vote.
Wow.
But more importantly, everybody's got a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got a reason, and maybe it was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But in all the town hall meetings he's done, and all the different venues where he's been out in the public, he has been asked, "Are you supporting Amendment 3?" And he refuses to answer that question.
Hmm.
And if he does answer that question, he says, "Follow your heart, make the vote you want to make." Um, and since we're talking about it, we were down at Liberty Days together, and he approached me and said I had to quit lying about him. And I says, "How am I lying about your position?" And he says, "Look, I'm neutral on it." Well, neutrality is not support. If you support something, you support it. If your car's in neutral, you're neither going forward or backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think that every Republican has to get on board with this amendment so we can start fixing what the amendment created.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Because I feel like indecision is a decision in this topic because lives are at stake. Whenever, I speak with people about Amendment 4, the vote coming up on Amendment 4, and we'll talk about that here in a second. A lot of the pushback I get is, one vote, one voice, everybody needs to have a voice. And, my issue with that is that whenever Amendment 3 passed in 2024, since January of 2025, there have been reported an estimated 5,400 abortions. So that's 5,400 voices that are silenced, right? So indecision is decision as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this topic. Would you agree?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our Senator Mike Moon often talks about not saying anything is consenting.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's true for other things, that's true for Amendment 3.
Yep. Absolutely. I'd have to agree. All right. Let's look at, okay, let's talk about education for a minute. Okay. What would your position be? You're familiar with the ongoing conversations in the state about open enrollment and things of that nature. What would your position be on, say, public education and small rural schools and communities? Like, do you feel like schools and communities are important, or do you lean more towards like the open enrollment and consolidation as far as that goes?
So I do like open enrollment, and I do believe that um, taxpayer dollars should follow the student, not the district. And I do believe that um, the school systems that I see, whether they be Chadwick or Ozark or Nixa or Reed Spring school districts, they're very good government program, public schools, as most people call them.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as the dollars follow the student and the school is turning out a good product, the parent or guardian will always will continue to send their children to that program. So I don't think they'll fail. But where we do have failing schools, let's say in St. Louis or Kansas City, um, I think we got to give those people some relief. And if the parents choose to educate their children through parochial schools or homeschool or alternative school of whatever choice they find that fits their child best, I think they should have their taxpayer dollars go with them to help pay for that.
Okay. Some pushback that I get on that topic is, for instance, uh, take, the area that I live in, Chadwick. We're a smaller community, smaller school. There's
Mm-hmm.
also, like Bradleyville is near us. You've got, Taneyville, nearby, whatnot, Mark Twain. Some people say that an open enrollment would ultimately be the death to the smaller schools. I grew up in an area in South Georgia where there were no smaller schools like this setting. Like I grew up in a county called Lowndes County, right? And you either went to Valdosta High or you went to Lowndes County or Lowndes High. And so, not every little town had their own school. Everybody kind of went to the big school, right? So, would you see open enrollment being ultimately the death of, the smaller school construct?
I really don't. Now, I grew up in the south side of Chicago, and I tell people, I said, I may have been Yankee born, but I'm hillbilly by choice. And I came to the Ozarks to be a part of it, not to change it. But in my situation, my parents chose not to educate me through the uh, public school system, and they put me in a parochial school system. My father had to work an extra job just to pay the tuition to the Catholic Church. And I think that education was an excellent education as compared to what they were doing in public school system at the time. But like I said, as long as the taxpayer dollars are following the student, I think most people in the smaller settings would rather have their child go to the local school that's just a couple miles away rather than busing them all the way into Nixa or Ozark or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, so I think as long as we're doing it right, as long as we can allow those kids to stay there, allow those schools to stay open, as long as that's where their parents want the child educated, then I think we need to support those smaller schools. And but I grew up in an area where, in a time where I walked to school uphill both ways, and the snow was so deep we walked on the fence posts. But my point is, we walked. I walked to school. I walked home because the school was close enough. Now, in rural Missouri, probably not the best setting. I mean, I lived in a big city, so we had sidewalks, and uh, it was fairly safe to walk to school. We didn't have to walk on a 2-lane rural road. But I truly believe in freedom, and I think education has to be as free as everything else. I'm not saying financially. I'm saying we have the right to choose where we educate our kids and how they're educated, because people who get stuck in a bad product can't get out of it. And we have to have everybody have the opportunity to be able to seek out and find the best products available for their children for education.
All right. Okay, so let's shift here for a minute and let's go to a couple of the more poignant amendments that are going to be on this next ballot. Amendment 4, for those who aren't familiar, Amendment 4 would change the way Missouri's Constitution can be amended through citizen initiatives. Instead of just needing a statewide majority, 50% plus one, a proposal would also have to win a majority in all 8 congressional districts. I want to talk about why supporters would believe that that's a better system, and people that are against it think otherwise. Where do you stand on Amendment 4?
I am a yes on Amendment 4. When we look at Amendment 3 again, 2 years ago, and we look at the demographics, virtually every county in Missouri voted no on that amendment, except for the counties that are around St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, and sometimes Springfield. Amendment 4 will give us more of an electoral college type setting to where everybody in the state has a voice. And the problem with the initiative petition program, the way it is right now, is we can get outside sources, say like George Soros money and George Soros people, that come into the state of Missouri with the intent of changing it to something that they like. And it's truly not what the people of Missouri want. That money comes in from outside. The people that are running around collecting petitions are paid, many of them not from the state of Missouri. And I think as long as we're going to have petition-led programs, the people have to come from the state of Missouri. They can't be paid to get their petition signed, and the whole state should have a voice. I think it's going to be a good program. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, so like Amendment 4, I'm a yes on. I feel like a lot of times I see the argument that I saw a graphic come through, because we're in a day and time of social media, so everybody can, make a graphic on ChatGPT. But I saw a graphic come through where it was like the entire state was red, and then there was a little blue dot in St. Louis, and it said voting yes for Amendment 4 would be like the entire state wants ice cream, but this little blue dot doesn't, so nobody gets ice cream. And my reply was that the antithesis of that is also true, except they have more power, because if nothing changes, Casey and St. Louis hold all the power. Not only do they get to say no on things, but they could also say yes on things. And in your example, which is one that I've been speaking about as well, the abortion amendment from 2024, under the guidelines of Amendment 4, that would not have passed, and lives are saved. So, yeah, no, I mean...
And I think something that's worth talking about as well when it comes to Amendment 4 is right now in Utah, right? They have an amendment on their ballot to ban hunting and fishing, and I think cattle farming, if I'm correct. And that's coming to Missouri if we don't fix the initiative petition process. And yeah, I think people in St. Louis, they deserve that. But everybody says, well, we won't get our big Republican things passed because St. Louis won't let us. Well, the Missouri Constitution is the framework of how we govern the state. Bingo should not be in the Constitution. It should be in statute. Marijuana, we now have 32 pages in the Missouri Constitution dealing with marijuana. Should be in statute, not the Constitution. The Constitution should be about how we form a community or a county, or how people are going to get paid, or things like that, because it's the framework of how we govern the state. And our Constitution has been amended something like 102 times because of this process. And we have to slow it down. If the citizens, they'll still have the ability to change the Constitution through the initiative petition process, but the whole state has to be in agreement, or at least 50% of the whole state from every congressional district. It gives everybody a voice. It doesn't take away any voice. And the last Republican initiative petition initiative that passed was the Hancock Amendment 10 years ago. And people out there that are listening to this, I constantly hear them say, we have a supermajority. When are we going to do big Republican things? This is a big Republican thing.
Mm-hmm.
So is Amendment 5.
No, and the fact that you say that brings this question up, because I was thinking about this just the other day. You see a lot in like political conversation where we are saying that this is a Republican ideal or this is Democratic ideal, right? Like we are differentiating between if this is a red vote or a blue vote, right? But for some reason, this Amendment 4 situation, the optics of it have been nonpartisan, right? And personally, I feel like that's an advantage to who it's actually benefiting, and that would be the left. So the fact that this is not being presented as in a lot of cases as Republican or Democrat, do you feel like that's a fair depiction, or is it what you just said? Passing Amendment 4 would be a big Republican type move?
Well, I'll be transparent. I'm a little biased because I am a Republican.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And for years, I've been here for 22 years, and for years, I've heard people say, when are we going to get initiative petition reform? When are we going to get initiative petition reform? When are we? And now they've got it. Go vote for it. Right. Go vote yes on 4. And I believe it will strengthen rural Missouri's voice. I know they don't like the things that are being done to our Constitution through this process, and we need them to help stop it. Now, and understand that this doesn't affect a joint resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Citizens such as yourself, you can always get a hold of, let's say, me, your new state rep, and say, I would like to have you carry a bill that does this. They can still go through the legislative process to have the Constitution changed. See, when it goes through the legislative process, you voted for the guy sitting in the chair. You voted for the senator sitting in the chair, you voted for the governor. Maybe it's not your choice, but my point is that there are checks and balances, and those hurdles to get that Constitution changed, it it makes it a little bit more it's a little bit more difficult to get done, but all those checks and balances are in there because you voted for those people all along the way who are doing that because you've asked for it.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
the threshold won't change for statute. It's still
Right.
going to be 50% plus one guy,
Mhm.
which is where bingo needs to be. It's where marijuana needs to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Let's pivot to Amendment 5. So, Amendment 5 would begin the process of eliminating Missouri state income tax over time as revenues grow. It also gives the legislature the authority to reform the state's sales tax system as part of that transition. Supporters believe it's a path toward lower taxes and a stronger economy. Opponents worry it would lead to higher sales tax and uncertainty about how the state would replace the revenue. Where do you currently stand on Amendment 5?
Again, I'm a big yes on Amendment 5.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of inhibitions. I've been to many forums. One of the forums that I think is great is in Springfield on the first Saturday of the month. It's called the Moore Forum,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the Republican Education Forum, and all they do is bring people in to talk on a topic, the experts in the field, and they've had Darren Chappell, Bishop Davidson, uh, Curtis Trent, all coming in to talk on Amendment 5. People had an opportunity to ask questions. They were open and honest with their questions or with their answers. I've seen Bishop Davidson speaking again down in Shell Knob, which is people don't realize how far the 138th goes, but it
Right.
goes all the way down to Shell Knob. And I watched Bishop Davidson speak there, and I got to listen to the people in that room. There were probably 100 people voice their concerns and have him answer questions. He even offered to stay until every question was answered, even though the building was closed. And business people. I own my own business. I own Midwest Cabinets and Design,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a location in Ozark, one in Kimberling City, and our services currently are not taxed because we pay income tax when we're not on the sales tax rolls because we're on the income tax rolls.
Okay.
It will cause me to have to get new software and calculate things differently, but I would rather calculate a sales tax on every transaction than I would filing my income taxes. And I think the federal government's going to go this way too. And I've encouraged people to pick up the book, The Fair Tax, written by Neil Bortz and Congressman Linder several years ago, and read it. I've read it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
The fair tax, which is what Missouri is trying to implement, is truly the most fair way to pay for government. We're going to, our U.S. Constitution says that people shall not be taxed directly. An income tax is a direct tax on what the producers do. Number one, or also in switching to a state sales tax, they have to stay competitive so that people do not go across state lines to buy things. And nobody, if our tax right now, average state income tax is 4.225,
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying that they won't even take it over 6%, but they expect it to be somewhere just below 5. And that's going to depend on what exemptions they have. As you'll listen to the commercials, they say, imagine paying sales tax on your health care. Imagine paying sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
Well, healthcare is exempt already in our Constitution. Real estate is exempt in our Constitution. So those things are not going to be part of the state sales tax. It'll be more like people like me who own a kitchen remodeling company.
Hmm.
But you have to ask yourself, how many kitchens do you remodel? And the other thing that Amendment 5 does, it actually takes lower income people right off the tax rolls. Now think about it. I know a lot of people that hunt and take out a couple deer a year to put in their freezers to feed their families.
Hmm.
Those deer aren't taxed. I know that most low income people might buy my cabinetry, but they do not buy our installation services because they're DIYers.
Hmm.
They fix their own cars, they grow their own food, they hunt their own food. Um, they, I love Facebook Marketplace because I would rather buy a good used product than a new product, such as, I don't know, I'm looking for a dump trip. I'm looking for a new van for my shop right now. One of these Sprinter vans.
Hmm.
And I'm looking Facebook Marketplace to let somebody else take the big hit. And I'm going to buy a good quality van that we could put in service for less money than I would if I went to the dealer. And there's no tax on used items. The average Missourian will save somewhere between $1,700 and $2,100 a year in sales taxes.
Okay, so let me ask this, and I've got like 6 minutes left here. So, where do you think the messaging is falling off? Right? Because when I talk to you and other state reps and stuff like that, like you make a good case, but then whenever I talk to other people, it's almost like the fear of the unknown is what is holding them back.
Well, the fear of the unknown is a legitimate fear,
Hmm.
and I do believe that the Republicans have done a terrible job messaging it. I know that if people would have gone to the forums and listened to Bishop Davidson or Darren Chappell or
Hmm.
Curtis Trent, those are the bill handlers. They would have gotten information right from the horse's mouth, not some stupid TV ad trying to sway your decision. I truly believe, and it won't be, if this doesn't pass, it won't even come around for another 15 or 20 years again. And
Wow.
I, and also too, Amendment 5, it takes in all illegal activity, drug dealers and hookers and illegal aliens. They all buy stuff, and we'll have tourists paying our taxes. That in the 138th, they go to the lake. I know I'm talking to people in Chadwick right now, but those people from Illinois and Oklahoma that drive down Highway 65 and go to Table Rock Lake, they will also help pay our taxes. So this scare tactic of, oh, it's going to be 20%, that isn't going to happen. We've been assured through our legislators, it has to be revenue neutral because of the Hancock Amendment. They cannot get a windfall with it. And every dollar that is over revenue neutral has to be used to reduce sale or income and property taxes. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I hope it passes, and it will make my company have to do more work and hire more people,
right.
but it will still be less than what we go through the 15th of April.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on here today, Tom. That's going to do it for today's conversation. We're up against it. But I want to tell you, number one, good luck on your election bid here. And God bless you. You sound like somebody that cares about Missouri. You care about human life and the value of it, which is huge for me and a lot of listeners that I think tune into this. So that is going to be key as far as that decision comes, on the ballot here next week. So thank you for giving us information and your heart as far as that goes. Thank you for answering the questions and sharing your vision for the future of our district. Running for public office isn't easy, and I appreciate anyone who's willing to have an open and honest conversation with myself and the voters. To everyone watching or listening, remember that no matter where you stand politically, it's important to do your own research. Like Tom said, don't just read Facebook posts or watch ads on the local networks. Actually go to these forums. There's one coming up on the 30th. I'll put the information in the details of this show. There's one coming up on the 30th at the Ozark VFW in Ozark, Missouri, that they're going to talk about Amendment 5. If it is that important to you, then I suggest that you or somebody you trust get out there and ask the questions you've got. Listen to the candidates, read the issues, ask the questions, and most importantly, make your voice heard at the ballot box. Thanks again, Tom, for joining us, and thank you for spending part of your day with us. Until next time, I've been Lewis, and this has been What Are We Talking About? We'll see you next time.
Thanks for hanging out today. If this episode made you think or challenged your perspective or gave you something worth talking about, I'd really appreciate it if you'd help grow the show. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, leave a rating or a review, and share this episode with your friends and family. That's honestly the biggest way you can help us get these conversations in front of more people. If you've got thoughts on today's topic or ideas for future episodes, drop them in the comments. I do read them, and there's a very good chance they'll end up on a future show. I've been Lewis, and this has been What Are We Talking About? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.